It's that time. We're jumping into your way too early rankings for next year, so the people can bring home one of those.
Should I name it?
And by people, I mean Jay or I or Pete or Lawrence or Dev or.
Just make sure you don't make
else.
the same mistakes.
Literally anyone else.
Joe Flacco avoided in high school. That's it.
Yes.
Oh no. I'll be safe. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Oh boy, Stephen, please pull up the way too early rankings.
Wait
Get
till
me
my
out
wife
of here.
sees this between us in bed tonight. That's gonna be awkward. Or maybe not.
You'll be both sets of the
maybe
couch.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Happy Friday and welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm Connor Rogers alongside Matthew Berry representing Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions and his Ride or Die, and Jay Croucher. Fun show today, guys, because it's a different Friday. We're usually up at the bar, usually doing the same old. We're doing player motivations today. Matthew.
Yeah, 1,000%.
You looked really excited to just say something.
Well, just because I got news for you. Like, honestly, this is, I believe, by showing up in person, I just cashed a bonus from NBC for me.
Incentives.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was one of I have a lot of incentives in my contracts.
Right.
Number of times I don't curse.
Yeah.
Number of meetings I attend. Yeah. Number of shows I'm actually here in person.
Meetings didn't hit this year.
No, that did
Sorry.
not hit. It's something I got to work
Number
on for
of
next year.
trophies you don't caress on air.
Yeah, exactly. That one also didn't hit as well. The number of times I use the phrase, I call the channel Peacock. I use its full name.
Yes.
Right.
That one,
Yes.
I have to work on that one
Number
too.
of times you insult the country and lone continent of Australia as well. The overhit on that.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, a lot of people think the number of times I throw Penn State Blake under the bus is an incentive. It's not. That's one I just do for fun.
Right.
Just so you know.
Yeah, and boy, does it hit every year.
That hits every single year. But anyway, I cashed another incentive by you being here today in person.
It's good for you,
Yeah, very exciting. You know who didn't cash an incentive?
Who?
Amon-Ra St. Brown in
I
terms
know.
of his, if he has, I don't know if he has an incentive in his contract for making the Pro Bowl, but he should. He was hot about not getting selected for the Pro Bowl, and he's right. Amon-Ra St. Brown tied for the second most receptions in the NFL this season. By the way, he needs 29 yards to become the fourth line with over 1,400 yards in a season. You know, the Calvin Johnson of the world. Like, he's in that stratosphere. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, he got completely screwed. He drinks free. I'm wearing the 14 to represent one pride. Amon-Ra St. Brown, my ride or die. He didn't let me or any of his fantasy managers down this year. 7 different games with 20 more fantasy points this season. Tied for second most among wide receivers, including, by the way, at least 20 fantasy points in every single week of the fantasy playoffs. Amon-Ra St. Brown stepped up for fantasy managers for the Lions. He got screwed by the Pro Bowl voters. He drinks free today and every day.
So I have a rule where when we said someone was screwed from the Pro Bowl or an All-Star team or whatever, we have to kick someone out. So who's getting kicked out? So CeeDee Lamb's in. CeeDee Lamb's in.
My guy Aites, he's in.
I think A.J. Brown is in as well. I know he tailed off, but maybe not. A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua. Who are we getting rid of?
All right, Mike Evans has got to be there.
He has to be.
Okay, now we're down to two.
So now it's Puka or A.J. Brown, and
I'd probably get rid of Puka for a
I would put A.J. Brown in over Puka.
Yes.
But I actually would put in Amon-Ra over both those guys.
Okay.
To your point, in terms of as great as A.J. Brown was, so was Devontae Smith, so was Jalen Hurts. He tailed off towards the end. It was an inconsistent season for A.J. Brown. He was brilliant at the first part of the year. He definitely inconsistent. You know, the Eagles went from, hey, this is the team that's going to be the number one seed, and to now, like, they're going to be on the road in the first round of the playoffs.
Can they beat anybody in the
Can
playoffs?
they beat anyone in the playoffs? Can and that's more on the defense. But again, their running game with Swift and Jalen Hurts, I would put an Amon-Ra over both those guys.
Yep. No, I'd probably have AJ, but I would put Amon-Ra in over Puka Nacua. The biggest travesty, though, is Antoine Winfield not making it over Buda Baker.
That's ridiculous.
That is genuinely like Ray McLeod getting in over Mike Evans or something. Like, it's insane.
It's why people laugh at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you look across the board, it's
Genuine
why
insanity.
the Pro Bowl has become a complete joke and everybody defers to the all-pro teams.
Yeah, 1,000%. But anyway, Amon-Ra was upset, and because Amon-Ra was upset, I'm upset. All of us on the show are upset for Amon-Ra. We represent for 14 for one pride. It's also, by the way, I just sort of feel like in terms of the Lions, right? I mean, the run game obviously is, but Amon-Ra is such a key part of that offense. And not that A.J. Brown and Puka are not key parts of their offense. They are as well. But the Lions are such a good story. I don't know. I feel like he should have gotten some narrative votes as well.
Yeah, sure. No,
But,
I mean,
the stats are there too. Second in the NFL receptions.
yeah.
Touchdowns are a little fluky. Puka missed some time. So, I'm not convinced Puka Nacua is the best wide receiver on his own team.
No, he's
Well,
not.
I think
not.
it's definite that he's not.
He's definitely
Yeah.
not.
But you know what I mean? So it's just like.
Yeah, I'd have the Sun got in over Puka. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
All right, so we know he always has a lot to play for, the Sun guy. We're going to get to all the Week 18 player motivations, team motivations. Denny Carter's going to join us to talk about the funnel defense report, plus what's on tap. But before we do any of that, let's jump into the Rotoworld player news. For all your player news, go to NBCSports.com because a lot of injuries to go through as we start with the ones we're tracking for Saturday. Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham, they are out because of rest. Zay Flowers is doubtful with a calf. Noah Brown is out with a back injury. Zach Moss with the forearm. Questionable here, Matthew. I think the most notable one in terms of the game actually meaning something are the two on the bottom there, Noah Brown and Zach Moss, and how Moss's injury could have a trickle effect on the Colts' backfield.
You certainly expect a ton of Jonathan Taylor against the Texans in a must-win game for Indianapolis. And Noah Brown, look, we will foreshadowing here, but you can run on the Colts, so you expect a heavy dose of Devin Singletary here. But with no Noah Brown, I think Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz both step up. We'll talk about both those guys coming up a little bit later in the show as well. But I think Noah Brown is very significant, again, for Nico Collins and the Texans offense.
All right, so we move to Sunday's games. A lot of limiteds here. The only full that we have is Cortland Sutton out of the concussion protocol. He's expected to play. Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk for Jacksonville, both limited. Jaden Reed, limited as well with that chest injury. Sam LaPorta, Devon Achan's been dealing with the toe injury for a while. He's limited. Kenneth Walker with the shoulder. Isaiah Pacheco with the shoulder. Travis Kelce with a neck injury. Baker Mayfield, limited yesterday, but he's looked pretty good today. As we record.
Think all these guys play. The two ones that I have, and we'll talk about this in a second here, Pacheco and Kelce are the two that would give me the most concern. Also, Lawrence, Jay, as we talked about yesterday, DraftKings doesn't think he's playing in terms of the line movement. The sports books don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing, or if he is, he's going to be very limited by injury.
That's the thing, is that even if he does play, how much better is a wounded Trevor Lawrence than CJ Beathard, who's been fine in the times he's had to come in. But Lawrence, the line moved from it was 5.5, 6 down to right now it's 3.5 Jags favored on the road at Tennessee. So certainly some doubt over Lawrence if he does go and if he is able to go, what he looks like.
So the most concerning ones for Sunday, we pivot to here. Jaylen Waddle has not practiced with that ankle. Raheem Mostert with the knee injury, he still has not practiced. Devontae Smith with the ankle, not practicing. Same for T. Higgins and Alvin Kamara as well. Rashee Rice there, Matthew, monster week last week. He has not practiced with a hamstring. That's a big one for the Chiefs.
Again, the Chiefs are generally going to rest all their guys. So that's why we think Pacheco, Kelce, and Rashee Rice, if they play, it'll be very limited. That maybe they play the first quarter, a couple of series, but not the full game. Waddle and Mostert, we don't expect to play. And I don't know if you're playing in a Week 18 final, you can risk it. That's the Sunday night game right here on NBC and Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man. It'll be a great game, Bills-Dolphins, but you won't likely know until Sunday night, and then you may not just have a pivot. So if you do decide to roll the dice on Waddle and Mostert, we get some more positive news between now and game time on Sunday. And we'll track all this, of course, on Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern on Peacock and the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. We'll track all this. But unless we get more positive news and you can sort of say, well, maybe it's worth the risk to go there, then you sort of pivot. The other two that were on that list that sort of jump out at you is Amari Cooper. Again, the Browns are kind of resting guys. Joe Flacco's not going to play. So it feels weird that they would let Amari Cooper, who missed last week.
I'd be stunned if Amari
I would be
makes
stunned.
no sense.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen as well. Again, he's missed so much time. You know, it's a lost season for the Chargers. It's a, interim coach. It's the whole thing's a disaster. I'd be shocked if Keenan Allen plays.
Yeah, with Keenan Allen's cap hit next year, they need to figure out, either fix that cap hit. I don't think they're going to move on from such a special player, but his health in a meaningless game it needs to be the priority.
Yep, no, you would think so. And just lastly, kind of you touched on how Baker Mayfield who was limited yesterday. This morning, there's video of him and the reports are from the beat reporters that he is practicing without limitation. Like, he just looks like Baker Mayfield is throwing it deep. I'd be stunned if he didn't play, given there's supposed to be nothing structurally wrong with his ribs.
And on top of that, he's got a lot to play for. As we move to our Week 18 motivations, Baker Mayfield tops the list in terms of the financial incentives. So here are the players with notable financial incentives for Week 18. We talked about Baker against the Panthers, Jordan Love against the Bears, Geno against the Cardinals, Austin Ekeler against the Chiefs, Devin Singletary against the Colts, DeAndre Hopkins against Jacksonville, Dalton Schultz against the Colts as well. Baker has incentives, guys, for passer rating, passing yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, and yards per attempt. $300,000 in incentives as you see them here, Matthew. I mean, he's in the top 10 of most of these categories. He needs to hold on. It's a lot of money, and, of course, their season is on the line.
No question about it. I mean, basically, he needs to either finish the top 10 in the NFL or top 5 in the NFC in all these different categories. 4 out of the 5, obviously, as you can see there on your screen, he's currently qualified through Week 17. In essence, he needs a good game. If he has a good game, he's going to hit most, if not all of these. He needs a good game, and so we expect him not only to play, but to play well, to get up there and to gut it out in a must-win matchup against Carolina. Yes, Panthers have played better. This game is in Carolina, but I believe in Baker. I think Baker has a good game. I think the Bucs win. I think they make the playoffs. And I think he makes himself some money in the process.
Yep, I agree. And I think with a lot of these incentives that we're going to talk about, I think they get reduced in a game where, like, you need to win and you need to win the game. Like, I don't think Jordan Love is going to be checking out a run plays to throw the ball deep because, like, he needs to win the game to get into the playoffs. They're going to play a normal game. Where it kind of gets a little wonky is when either there's nothing at stake, and I know it's not an incentive, but like Puka Nacua to break the receiving record, I would say they're going to skew the game plan to get him that. And then also, if it is a blowout, if for instance, we'll talk about these guys like DeAndre Hopkins, if they're getting blown out or it's a blowout, then maybe you feed them at that point.
So let's get into some of the other incentives here of the players we saw on the list. Jordan Love, he gets an extra $1 million for finishing top 10 in yards. He's currently 10th. 40 yards ahead of Jalen Hurts right now. So Jordan Love, we think we'll be able to hold on to that one. Obviously, Jay, as you mentioned, the Packers have a ton to play for in this game against the Bears defense. DeAndre Hopkins needs 7 receptions for $250,000, 39 receiving yards for $250,000. Austin Ekeler needs 110 scrimmage yards to earn $100,000. Devin Singletary needs 74 scrimmage yards to earn $250,000. Dalton Schultz, big one here for Dalton Schultz. 6 receptions to get him $500,000, 107 receiving yards for another $250,000. And because of all these guys, DraftKings has a lot of specials going into this weekend. They're called the Show Me the Money specials right here. Matthew, are any of these incentives intriguing to you from maybe a betting or fantasy perspective?
Singletary certainly is, and I feel better. 6 receptions is a lot, as is the yards as well. He's had only one game with over 107 receiving yards this season, and he's been under 6 receptions in 5 of the past 6. But no Noah Brown in this game. C.J. Stroud needs a great game, not only for the Texans to win this game and get into the playoffs, but if he has a great game and they win this game, he's Offensive Rookie of the Year. And, I think there's probably something in the back of his mind. He wasn't drafted number 1. There were questions coming out of the draft, coming into the draft. Like, there was all the BS about his Wonderlic score and stuff like a bunch of BS. And
the
so
S2 and new test.
All stupid stuff about C.J. Stroud.
Turns out he's a pretty good quarterback.
He's a freaking great quarterback. Yeah. Like, he's unbelievable. He's a franchise guy, and I think there's a lot of teams, including one in Carolina, that maybe we should have looked at that a little closer. But anyway, so my expectation here is that Stroud wants to have a big game, obviously, for a lot of different reasons. I'm with you. He's not going to go out of the game plan to try to pad stats to try to get an award. But if there's an opportunity for Dalton Schultz, and there is, in a good matchup, I do think you kind of like it. Betting perspective-wise, I feel better about the 6 receptions than I do about the 107 yards, again, with no Noah Brown. But the one I really like is Singletary, who's had at least 74 yards from scrimmage in 4 different games this year. Last time he played Tennessee, 86 scrimmage yards. Last week against Tennessee. Colts, you can run on the Colts. Singletary gets a lot of work. I don't think Dameon Pierce is going to be a big part of this offense tomorrow. So, yeah, give me some motor Singletary. My brother from another.
Oh, boy. Yes.
What would those like to motor?
Okay.
In different ways.
Yes, very different ways.
You do
One
run into
hopes-
the studio quite often.
Yeah.
Yes, with great pace. So that is minus 150 on DraftKings for Devin Singletary to record 73 plus scrimmage yards, which would get him $250,000. Now, I think this is the type of thing where if they were to be blowing out the Colts late, and in typical situations, you'd put Dameon Pierce in, like maybe you put Devin Singletary in so he can get that. I will say, like, all of these incentives, we talk about them from a betting perspective, like, you can't just blind bet the over. Like, it has to be relative to a price. So it's not like the books don't know about the incentives
Right.
as well. So that just, and sometimes there is value on them, but you have to always think about relative
Would you
price.
prefer to bet? So just DraftKings having this special, right? It's can he hit his incentive in
Yeah.
essence 74 yards from scrimmage at minus 150, or his actual line is 81.5.
Yeah.
Would you rather just bet the 81.5, which I think is at minus 115? I haven't looked at
probably
it. It's
right.
something like that.
Yep, I would rather bet the over 81.5 at minus
Yeah,
115.
I think that's right. I'll look it up real quickly, or somebody will, and they'll get in my ear.
So those are the financial motivations. We also have the statistical motivations that are more record-based here. And we kick that off with Travis Kelce. He needs just 16 receiving yards for his 8th straight 1,000-yard season, as you see a lot of the player names we're going to go through. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Puka Nacua, DJ Moore, Kelce there, and Sam LaPorta. We got to hear from Andy Reid on Kelce getting the record, who didn't seem overly concerned with it. Take a listen.
You have a couple guys who are close to like milestones or incentives. Is that a priority this week, getting those guys in those numbers?
Yeah, it depends. Depends on what the milestone is.
Let's say it's an 8th straight 1,000-yard season.
We'll see how all that goes.
Do they have, what's the conversation like when you have those?
Probably one-sided.
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
National treasure.
Yeah,
National treasure.
Very
Andy
honest.
Reid, very one-sided. I have a lot of one-sided conversations here at NBC. Yeah,
Yes,
whatever.
okay.
Right. Can I do that? No. Okay, good. All right, fair enough.
Oh, boy.
Fair enough.
Oh, man.
So, what does Kelce need? Kelce needs like not a lot.
He needs 16 yards.
16.
Not a lock these days for Travis Kelce. Den's
No.
he only got
He's
16
been
last
bad.
week. But you would suspect that in this
I think
type
he
of
plays
game,
like the
he'll get
first 2 series.
Yeah,
I think they try to get him to 16 yards
Get him out of there.
it. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I think fantasy-wise, I don't think you want to play. You're if I'd rather, if I was in a Week 18 matchup, I'd rather start Noah Gray than Travis Kelce.
Right.
If you're
Yep.
telling me to pick a Chiefs tight end, Mahomes isn't going to play. It's going to be Blaine Gabbert. Is my expectation. Again, I think they'll play a series or two, but yeah. I wonder if Taylor Swift will be at the game. Cheering on. I wonder if they'll cut to the booth when Noah Gray catches something.
I think she'll probably skip this one.
Yeah.
Something tells me. Another player, this is more of a long shot one. Joe Mixon needs 147 rushing yards to become the second leading all-time Bengals rusher. And Jay, I feel like if he doesn't get this, which seems unlikely, I don't know if Joe Mixon will be in a Bengals uniform next year to do this.
No. And the thing is like he's not being the first all-time rusher, right?
Right,
so it's to
right.
get the second.
To move
so
up the list.
cares?
I don't think
Who
you
cares?
really go out of your way to get him that. I think
Who's-
he'll be fine as third.
By the way, who is number one? Is it Corey Dillon? Who's number one?
That's a
I'm
good
curious.
question.
I'm curious who the number one.
It's Penn State Blake. That's a big one.
Yeah,
All right, why
I'm
Penn
curious.
State
Who is
Blake
the-
is chasing
Is
that
it Corey
down.
Dillon? I'm being told it's Corey
I would-
Dillon in my
oh,
ear.
it is, okay.
All right, there you
Okay.
go.
Wouldn't
That's
have
one
guessed
for
that.
me.
All
Well
right,
done, Matthew.
let's go.
Very
Good
nice.
for you, Yeah.
Sometimes
Good
it pays
start
to
to
be
Friday.
old.
Yeah, all right. There we
Yeah.
go. Can I take the rest of the show off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was actually an incentive for you, Matthew, to guess that correctly. You just made
You're
a
having a
quarter of
big
$1
day.
million. Like Devin Singletary.
I made $25.
You're the Dalton
and,
Schultz of the show
another
right
bag
now.
of free popcorn. Yeah.
All right. Tyreek
100%.
Hill.
I might be the Dalton Schultz of this show. Like, I'm slow, but a possession
Solid.
receiver.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Had
you
a
know,
good middle stretch of the season.
Undervalued, would you
yeah,
say?
undervalued.
Yeah.
Get the ball somewhere near me. I'll come down.
Everyone
with it.
doubted you?
Yeah.
Undervalued. Didn't Schultz get a big contract?
I think he's on a 1 year.
Is
Yeah,
he? I
1
thought
year
he got
prove a
paid.
deal.
They always
Okay.
say
That's a little bit of
all
me,
1
yeah.
year deals are good deals.
Yeah, that's true.
Tyreek Hill needs 248 receiving yards to break the single season record. Now, with Mostert and Waddle potentially out, I would never say never to Tyreek Hill, but man, that's a lot of yards.
It's a lot of yards against a defense that knows it's coming.
But they might need it from
No,
him.
they do. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, both the Bills and the Dolphins desperately need this game in a big way. The Dolphins can still make the playoffs even if they lose this game.
Right.
I have my playoff sheet here. I'll tell you, the Dolphins, they clinch the AFC East with a win or a tie. If they lose, they're in.
If they're in the playoffs, it's just a matter of whether they win the division or not.
Right.
Which means a lot to them still. in this one,
But
for sure.
there's still this huge narrative of they can't beat a good team.
Yep.
Right. There's something on their back right now, narrative-wise, and I would think internally, the injuries they've dealt with. Where would you price Tyreek Hill to get this record? 20 to 1?
No, it'd be longer. It's really hard to get 248 yards.
But Tyreek Hill.
I know it's Tyreek Hill. I mean,
Saying Waddle and Mostert don't play, which there is
Yeah.
a chance that they do, by the
Yeah.
way. I want to make sure that's clarified.
I think I need
40 to 1?
More, I think.
Wow.
50, 60 to 1. I understand it's Tyreek Hill, but
I'd
still.
put a $5 bill on that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
248 yards is a lot.
It's a lot of
ton.
yards.
I mean, who has done that in recent Like Jamar Chase got 266,
Yeah,
right, against
Jamar's
the Chiefs?
done it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a Buffalo defense that is playing better, that is
Right.
fully healthy, and also is going to be very keyed in
Yes,
on Tyreek
yes.
Hill.
No, I just want to be clear,
Pretty
it's
hard to get
ridiculous.
248.
We're double teaming Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
Wait, what are they? Ron Rivera?
Yeah.
No, they're Ron Rivera's the only guy to ever put single coverage, and Brandon Staley to put
Right.
single coverage on
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, and just we'll see if our guys can keep up with him.
I will say that, what was it, 2 weeks ago when they beat Dallas? And when they beat Dallas, Tyreek had 99 receiving yards, and he wasn't fully healthy at that point. And he dropped what I think was going to be like a 95-yard touchdown, so he was very close to having in the 190s that game.
Tyreek Hill's had a couple of bad drops this year. I think about
the Baltimore one was terrible.
The Baltimore one was terrible. I think about the Eagles game, like that crossing route, which should have been a touchdown and would have cashed my parlay as well that I had. I had a Tyreek Hill leg on the parlay that was the only one that missed, and because he drops that, and don't get me started.
He could be a lot closer to the record than he is. And I think if he'd stayed healthy, if he just stays healthy and doesn't miss the Jets game and then also just catches the 97-yarder against Dallas, then he's probably going to break the record.
Yeah, it's done. Sam LaPorta needs one reception to break the tight end rookie record. What a year it's been for Sam LaPorta on a significant long shot, 217 yards to break the tight end rookie record for receiving yards. We've talked about Puka Nacua a lot. He needs 4 receptions to break the rookie record. Needs 29 receiving yards to break that record. That is 63 years old. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts.
And McVay's note on Nacua is great. Quote, this is McVay. I think you'd like to be able to see him get an opportunity to do something special and then be smart with him.
Yes.
Get the record and get to the bench.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, Puka, as soon as you hit 30 yards, you
out.
take a knee. You immediately,
Get to the
don't try to
ground.
get extra yards. They're literally just boom, down, timeout, you're off the field, here we go.
Yeah. Connor, do you think he's going to break the record?
Yes.
If he doesn't get hurt, he's going to break the record. And Stroud is only a 1.5-point favorite in Indianapolis. Do you think if Stroud loses and Nacua breaks the record, that Nacua is our offensive rookie of the year?
I think it becomes a pick. Yeah, I could see that. But
I think Nacua will win.
I think so too, and I'll tell you why. It's the storyline of being a 5th-round pick.
Yep.
That to me is why, which might not be
Out of
fair,
BYU.
but this is a voted award. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things in his favor, right? I think first off, and some of them are dumb, but you're right.
Right,
Your
I agree.
fifth round pick out of nowhere.
Awesome name.
Awesome. I was just about to say that. Puka Nacua is just a fun name.
Yes.
And oh, by the way, he's got a good personality and he gets a benefit, and this is not fair at all. But life is not fair. He kind of looks like the actor that plays Danny Rojas on Ted Lasso, who's all smiles, football is life. Seriously, and they've done
Yes.
there's been a lot of that, and so Puka Nacua is a guy that also, you see him in the post-game press conferences or in the locker room, always smiling. It's super weird, but they both have the long hair, and so I do think people love that character on Ted Lasso, Danny Rojas, and I do think there is some sort of association, some unrealized
Subliminal,
association, subliminal association. What I'll say about Stroud, though, there's a little bit of an underdog there as well. Again, number 2 pick. No one expected the Texans to be good. He's been so good. I think it's not if he loses. I think if he doesn't play well.
Sure.
Like, I think if he has a Brock Purdy-like meltdown, like what we saw, if he has 2 picks and the Colts win, and it's because Stroud, didn't play well, then I think Nacua wins. But I think even in a loss, if Stroud throws 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, but the Texans defense doesn't do it, they fumble a punt return, and the Colts go in there. Like there's just a couple of fluky plays, and the Colts end up winning for no fault of Stroud. I think he still wins.
Yep, no, I agree. And look, personally, I would
especially because it's a quarterback.
Yeah, I would vote for Stroud. Personally, I just think as a quarterback, he has such a more outsized impact on the game. I will say with Nacua, though, is that one, like people have an issue with, like Stroud missed a couple of games. And also, Stroud hasn't really done much for 5 weeks. So he's a little bit out of sight, out of mind. So I think he does need to remind people of how good he was earlier in the season. And the other thing is with Nacua, and this matters a ton for awards, people just love records being broken for awards. They want to vote for the record breaker. And Nacua, statistically, has been about the 4th best wide receiver in football this year. And Stroud, statistically, has been outside the top 10 because he's tailed off a little bit. So I think that if he is kind of average at a loss, then and Nacua breaks the record, I think Nacua wins. If Stroud either wins, doesn't matter his stats. If he wins, he'll win the award. And if he's heroic in defeat, he'll win the award too.
Yeah, I mean, because it's also, by the way, it's a national game.
Yes.
It's a national window. Everyone will be watching. It is for the playoffs. If he leads his team to the playoffs,
that's over.
Even if he's quote unquote mediocre, he's 250, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Like he's fine. Defense plays well. Gardner Minshew does a Minshew type thing. The Texans win. I think C.J. Stroud still wins the award.
I agree.
So here's a sneaky one. Both Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are tied for the single season record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in this one. Now, this is a weird one, right? Because Allen feels like he rushes for a touchdown every week, and Hurts has the tush push. Allen is in a high-stakes game with a point total that's hovering around 50 right now, Jay.
Yeah. This, to me, though, is one of those ones where it's like no one knows what the record is or the statistic. This isn't like Aaron Judge going for 62 home runs, right?
Yes.
It's like if you told me to guess like who has the rushing touchdown record right now, what is the number? I have no idea before we did this in the pre-prep. So, I mean, it might be a little bit of a thing, but
it's interesting. I would have said, because I don't totally pay attention during the pre-show call. I probably would have most rush. I probably would have said Vic.
I would have said Vic. I wouldn't even hesitate. I would have said Vic.
I would have said Vic or Lamar in his MVPs.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a massive. It's not. Surely Josh Allen in a game to win the AFC East isn't going to be going out of his way.
And Jalen Hurts wants to. I mean, as well. And the other thing is, I don't ever want to say money doesn't matter because money, of course, always matters, right? And always people want to make incentives and everything like that. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are 2 of the highest paid people on the planet, right? And they're 2 of the highest paid players in the NFL. And so I'm not saying $100,000 or whatever their incentive doesn't matter to them. Everyone would like an extra $100,000. I don't care how rich you are. But $100,000 means a lot more to some special teams guy, or even somebody playing on a 1-year deal like Baker Mayfield, like Dalton Schultz. Right.
He has $750,000 on the line. He's on a 1-year deal. That's life-changing.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Versus Jalen Hurts, who's and Josh Allen, who both are like $250 million contracts.
And this is just for a record, by the way.
Yeah.
Literally, it's just a numbers game. For a record that you said, who cares?
Yeah. Do you reckon Dalton Schultz goes up to Bobby Slowick before the game? It's like, hey, Bobby.
Wouldn't you?
I will tell you a
6
quick,
catches. I would.
I'll tell you a quick story. So I can't reveal. I'll tell you guys off air. I can't do this, but I just say. So I'm buddies with a guy who's an NBA play-by-play announcer, and he tells me this story.
Mike Breen.
Huh?
No.
It is not Mike Breen. It's Doris Burke, my ex-girlfriend. No, stop it. I'm teasing about all that.
Wow.
No. So
we just keep spiraling.
Right. No. Anyway, so buddy of mine, NBA play-by-player. And he tells me this story about as a play-by-player, he's buddies with all the PR directors of the NBA teams because he goes around, he does all the interviews and everything like that. So he tells me this story. He goes, "There's a guy that was a center. There was a center that was always known for good, but didn't fully live up to his potential. A little bit like sort of Shaq in the regular season.
Yeah.
This is not a story about Shaq, by the way. But you know how Shaq would always as dominant as Shaq is, Shaq could have been so much better.
He played himself into shape in the regular season.
He played himself into shape. He never won a rebounding title. It was insane, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody as dominant as Shaq was, he could have been, so much more so. Anyway, so this is a guy who was sort of like a poor man Shaq. It was good, but could have been a lot better. And so he goes up to him. The PR guy goes up to the guy and says, "Hey, by the way, I was doing a press release about some of the incentives, and this is the last game of the season, lost season." And he goes up to this center and he says, "By the way, I know it's a long shot, but just want you to know, I noticed you're 7 blocks short of $500,000.
Last game?
Last game.
He has one game for 7 blocks.
Right. He's like, I know it's a lot, but I just want you to know, I just thought it'd be fun." And the player goes, "Thanks, man. 7 blocks in the first quarter. 7 blocks in the first quarter. He got it. And then he gets an 8th in the second quarter.
Guess he wasn't really worried about defensive rebounds.
No, but he literally,
out.
he was just like, I got you. Like it just, boom, went out. 7 blocks in the first quarter.
That's interesting that Hassan Whiteside did that.
Right, yes. Probably.
Somebody could probably figure out the story,
Very
by the way,
easily.
from that.
Very easily. Probably averaged 1.2 blocks per game that year.
Yeah,
7 in the
something, I
first
don't know,
quarter.
so.
That's incredible.
Anyway, but yeah, true story.
Our next one, DJ Moore, another high receiving mark. He needs 209 receiving yards to set the Bears' single-season record. Let's move over to playoff motivations starting in the AFC.
By the way, they're playing he'll see some Alexander, but you're starting DJ Moore.
Yes.
Like, I don't think he gets that number, but he's been just so good.
Should have a good game.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game, by the way.
Hey, the Bears would love to end Green Bay's season.
I like the Bears in that spot. I think the Bears are better than the Packers at the moment.
Right, and Bears, it's like plus 3.5 for the Bears, right?
Yeah. We'll see if
That's an
Jalen
interesting
Johnson
bet.
goes. Jalen Johnson's a little questionable, but if he
And
goes, I like the Bears.
Eberflus still coaching for his job at the moment, like an underwritten storyline and Justin Fields playing to be the Bears quarterback of the future.
We have this idea, I think there's this idea that the Bears have had this amazing finish to the season, have like a feel-good season overall. Like their win total was 7.5. Like they've basically hit par, and it hasn't been great for Eberflus a lot of the time. So I agree. I think they want to close out with a win for sure.
But yeah, I definitely like them. I don't know if they beat the Packers, but I definitely like them plus 3.5.
Yep, me too.
The AFC playoff motivations, as we take a look at the AFC playoff picture, we talked earlier about how the Dolphins are playing for seeding. The Dolphins are in the playoffs, but if they win, they clinch the AFC East or tie. There are ties in the NFL, as we know. The Bills are playing for a playoff spot. If the Bills win, they win the AFC East. They clinch a playoff berth with a tie or a Steelers loss or tie, or a Jaguars loss or tie, or a Texans or Colts tie. They are eliminated with a loss, a Jacksonville win, a Pitt win, and if Houston, Indianapolis doesn't end in a tie. So there's a scenario, Jay, where the Bills, who I believe are the third favorite on Super Bowl odds boards right now, don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, the Bills, they're the most fascinating. They're the highest leverage team of Week 18. So right now in DraftKings, they are plus 800 to win the Super Bowl behind only San Francisco and Baltimore. They are a shorter favorite than teams like Kansas City and Dallas, who are locked into the playoffs and effectively locked into home playoff games. And if the Bills, if they win this game, then they are the clear third favorite for the Super Bowl because they'll have home field throughout the AFC until the title game against Baltimore, should Baltimore get there. And if they lose, all they need is for the the Jags need to lose the Steelers need to beat the Ravens, and the Jags beat the Titans, and then they're out. So it is very real.
If the Bills lose, Jags win, Steelers win, and as long as Houston, Indianapolis isn't a tie, is not a tie.
And for all these things, I kind of just disregard ties because I can't process that.
Right, exactly. But if the Jags win, and they're currently favored, even with a hobbled Trevor Lawrence, and the Steelers win against a Ravens team that is clearly resting Lamar Jackson, resting OBJ, probably will rest the majority of their starters. Buffalo is either the AFC East champion or they're out of the playoffs.
You're the number 3 favorite. You're number 3 team in the NFL, third favorite for the NFL, or for the Super Bowl, or you're 15th, and you're done, and the season's over. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I will say this: that the primetime games this week. I kind of missed not having a game last night. It was definitely it was weird. It's Thursday night.
Yeah, it was very odd.
It was very weird.
Yeah,
but I gotta say that the NFL did a good job here. Pittsburgh, Baltimore is interesting tomorrow, obviously, because the Steelers needed to stay alive, and there's a lot of teams that would either be eliminated or get in with a Steelers loss or win, vice versa. So that affects quite a bit. Colts, Texans. Fascinating. I think everyone's rooting for the Texans. What a great story that would be. But
poor Colts.
What
about the Colts? Colts are a great story too. Everyone's rooting for the Texans.
Yeah, everyone. You're rooting for the stick man.
Yeah, I like Shane Steichen. I like D'Amico Ryans too. Colts are great. Colts are the most underrated story in the.
I agree.
They lost their quarterback like 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
They don't have any good players. They're 9-7. It's unbelievable.
Everybody's rooting against them.
Yeah. They're the NFL version of your fantasy team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
a really good comp.
Stickman resonates with the stickmen.
Yes, stickmen stick together.
Let me put it this way. I'm rooting for the Texans.
Okay.
I agree with you. The Colts are a great story. The Texans are a better one.
Texans
They've been in the desert
much...
for so long.
Yeah.
For so long, and just, no one gave them a chance, and so... anyway. So
I'll tell you, Texans-Bills week 1 of the playoffs is a lot more interesting than Colts-Bills.
Yeah, because the quarterback prestige.
Stroud could beat anyone on any given day.
The AFC
Stroud's
South
the real deal.
is pretty simple. If Jacksonville loses, the winner of Colts-Texans wins the division.
Correct.
That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Correct.
Now,
And
if Jacksonville wins,
They win.
yeah, they win.
They win the division. Correct. They control their own destiny. But so does Houston, because if they win, they're in.
Yes.
They're in the playoffs, right? They clinch a playoff berth with a win or with a tie, and Jacksonville lost and a Pittsburgh loss.
It's
No, hang
complicated
on.
once you get into the
I
ties.
thought if they
Right.
beat.
No,
I
so-
thought if they beat the Colts, they're in.
They're in. So the winner of that game is in the playoffs no matter what. It's just a matter of whether they're a wild card or a division winner.
Right, okay, that's
and then
what I
the
thought.
loser is out no matter what.
All right, let's take a look at the
Right.
NFC.
Yes, they clinch a playoff berth with a win. Period. Yeah, I missed a comma here. They clinch a playoff berth with a win.
The comma always does you in, Matthew.
Well, so here's the comma is small and I have old man eyes. Clinches playoff berth with a win, comma, or with a tie and Jacksonville lost and a pit. So if they tie, they're still blah blah blah. Houston, just win and you're in.
The NFC is a lot more up in the air. As we said with the AFC, Miami is the team playing for seeding. In the NFC, Dallas, Detroit, Philadelphia, and the Rams, they're all playing for seeding. The Bucs, Packers, Seahawks, Saints, Falcons, and Vikings are all technically playing for a playoff spot. So this is wide open here. Now, starting with a real simple, Dallas clinches the NFC East with a win, or if the Eagles lose. It's as simple as that. The Eagles obviously need to win and Dallas to lose to win the NFC East with this one. While the NFC South, that's the one that, like, there are darts flying all over the place. You have the Falcons can win the NFC South if they win and the Bucs lose. The Bucs just need to win to win
they
the
win.
NFC
They
South.
win. They're the NFC South champion, and I think they will win against Carolina.
They should. 4.5-point
theory.
favorites.
They should.
All of
two-win
these teams
team.
aren't good. All of these teams in the NFC South, they can all lose to
Someone's
anyone.
got to get in.
Yeah.
Someone's got to get in.
To
And
me,
this,
the interesting thing is with the Rams, who they've clinched a playoff spot, but they're resting Matthew Stafford, so they could fall to the 7th seed and have to go at Dallas. If they'd played Stafford, played to win, they'd be the 6th seed, play Detroit, which I think is more favorable than going
I
to
would
Dallas.
much rather
But
do that.
I guess they just want to guarantee Stafford and Kupp and Donald's health, which I guess is fair enough.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Maybe they're just like, Dak in the playoffs. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair.
I mean, listen,
Detroit should
the
have beaten
Cowboys play
Dallas.
really well at home, but Dak in the
beatable.
playoffs is a thing.
They're very beatable.
Yeah.
The Packers, they get in the playoffs with a win. That's simple as that. They need to beat the Bears, and they are in. They are eliminated with a loss and any of the following: the Vikings win, the Seahawks win, the Bucs win, the Saints win. So basically, like, they need to take care.
So they're out.
They got to take care of business.
Yes.
They got to take care of business. The last one here, if you're looking for the long shots, Minnesota gets in if they win. Green Bay, Seattle, and either the Bucs or Saints lose.
Not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
very
Not gonna
simple.
happen.
Green Bay wins and they're in. Minnesota, if they win and Green Bay loses,
Wow.
they're in, right? They also need Seattle to lose and either Tampa Bay or New Orleans to lose. That's fine. Seattle's in with a win and a Green Bay loss. So if Green Bay, here's what it's very simple. Packers win and they're in. Packers lose and Seahawks win, they're in. And then if both teams lose, then Minnesota's got a shot.
Yep.
I like the note at the bottom that's reminding us that the Commanders are eliminated.
Yes. Along with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Arizona Cardinals.
Previous page had the Jets. I just want to clarify. Very well done. All right. The NFL gives way to Michigan versus Washington in the national championship on Monday night. And for those of you looking to bet the title game, you're in luck. Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'll be making a guest appearance alongside Vaughn Dalzell, Brad Thomas, and Eric Froton to break down the matchup. So join us live on the NBC Sports YouTube channel and be a part of the discussion. Oh, and by the way, currently holding a 20-1 ticket for the Huskies to win it all that I put in July.
Hey,
so
look
a
at you.
lot
Go
on the
Huskies.
line.
You
Yes.
You got that big
Yes.
Phoenix energy.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
go.
All right, we'll be back after this with Denny Carter.
Can I tell you guys something about that Algier 75-yard touchdown?
No. Yes.
First of all, I found my God.
You did.
I started Algier in 2 fantasy championships last week.
How did he get away with this?
And folks, I lost both.
Yes, he did get away with it.
Wow. That's called ball don't lie.
With a 75-yard Tyler Algier touchdown, I lost both matchups. So.
Denny Carter, crime does not pay. That's what that says. Crime does not pay.
Didn't feel criminal at the time. I felt very extremely happy.
That's what they all say, buddy.
You
Lock
were
him up.
Were you,
I'm not going to jail for 6 months. I want to let you know.
Lock Denny Carter up.
As we always do on Fridays, we welcome in Denny Carter. This week, no regression files anymore, Denny. Safe to say that that part of the year is over. But the funnel report, how we doing?
I'm doing well, and I haven't been locked up. Thankfully, I didn't get away with that Tyler Algier touchdown. Unfortunately, lost all 4 of my fantasy championships, guys, last week. So it was a tough week.
Wait, can I ask you something, Denny? Like, why was Kyle cheering the fact that you lost all your fantasy championships? I mean, like, it's fun, like to go banter back and forth, but at the end of the day, like, you're his co-host, you're his colleague, you're his friend in theory.
Like, and for
boss.
You to, like, I'm not sure
like, it feels very mean for him to literally cheer audibly that you lost your fantasy championships.
They didn't want me to get away with starting Tyler Algier in week 17, because really I shouldn't be in a position to have to do that. But I was in 2 leagues, and it seemed to pay off at about 2:30 Eastern time on Sunday. Didn't pay off later in the day, unfortunately. But an ongoing theme of the show was that I was saying Tyler Algier is better than Bijan Robinson, kind of as a joke, but only kind of.
Yeah, no, that definitely is kind of a joke. It's clearly not a full joke. But that's all right. We'll handle the full jokes here. You handle the denim jackets.
Oh, I will.
I don't know what's going on there. All right. So, I still have an issue with it because it's like that was a good play. Like, again, like Algier. I mean, the reason you lost your fantasy championships is not because you started Algier. I mean, Algier got more production than you deserved.
Oh, I know. No, but it's just the fact that they, Pat and Kyle are huge Algier haters for whatever reason, and I have been on board the Algier train as he gets 2.5 yards per carry. That's why I'm a fantasy analyst.
Yeah, I'm also on board with Danny's outfit today, looking like a character from the first Terminator movie. It's very strong.
I love Jay's comps. Jay always has a great comp for me. I think he called me Mulder from season 1 the other day, which, by the way, I told my wife I'm very happy about that comp.
Yeah,
it's the nicest thing I've ever said to anyone.
Yeah, he looks like he looks like the guy they would cast as like the high school dropout or the corner drug dealer on the corner, something like that.
Aggressive.
It's a little like
Aggressive. I don't really say that. I don't say Denny Carter's a wire character.
Yeah, you don't see him like hanging out on a street corner, just like
Need something?
Like, dealing weed to bored rich kids?
Yeah, potentially. I could say it. No, I've come around on your comp, Matthew. Yeah.
Jay, to go with your 90s comp, I'm actually wearing a Twin Peaks t-shirt.
There you go.
Big Peaks fan.
There you go.
Would you like some pie? Season 1.
All right, Denny. So for the funnel report, as we smoothly transition out of Jay's movie and NBA comps.
You want me to spoil it?
No, I don't know.
Laura Palmer?
Laura Palmer, yeah, right? That was the thing. Who killed Laura Palmer?
Yeah, I can tell you. I don't want to tell America. I'll tell you
Tell me
after the show.
off air, and then I'll tell you who the center was.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. We'll trade that.
It was Hassan Whiteside.
Let's get to Denny Carter's funnel report.
All right, Denny. So the Eagles still playing for seeding right now, and the Giants just playing for pride at this point. But the Eagles' pass defense has been so bad this year that this is a clear funnel pass situation that could enhance maybe a Darius Slayton this weekend.
Yeah. Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, who led the team in targets and receptions last week. Of course, he's more of a PPR type option. Darren Waller, pretty much anybody running routes, but especially running routes from the slot against this Philadelphia secondary has a good chance to get there. We have a good combination here, guys, because the Eagles are the second most extreme pass funnel defense on the season. And the Giants, weirdly, have gone pass heavy. They have a 70% neutral pass rate over the past 3 weeks. That means that when the game is within 7 points, the Giants have passed on 7 of 10 offensive snaps. That is a lot that leads the league by miles. And so we're going to see Tyrod Taylor doing his thing again this week, I think.
All right, Denny, we talked earlier in the show how Devin Singletary has a big incentive, $250,000 if he gets 74 more scrimmage yards. The good news for him, as much as you don't want to dictate game plans to incentives in must-win situations, the Colts' run defense is a great funnel for him going into this matchup potentially for the division.
It is. The Colts have been a go-to in my funnel column all year. I wasn't going to stray from that recipe in Week 18. everybody turns to the run against the Colts. The Texans, without Tank Dell, have become slightly more run-heavy for obvious reasons. And Devin Singletary has taken over this backfield. He has 25 of the team's 34 rushing attempts over the past 2 weeks. So I think he could be in for 20 touches here against a vulnerable Indianapolis front seven that has given up some big performances of late. I know that Zamir White didn't quite get all the way there last week, but he was. I swear he was going to. I was assigned that game by Pat Doherty. I watched it. He was real close to having a big game.
Great stuff as always, Denny. You can catch the full Funnel Defense Report and all of Denny's work over at rotoworld.com. Thanks, Denny.
Thank you, Denny.
Thanks, fellas.
Good job, Denny. All year. Appreciate you, brother.
The Oscars may be in March, but awards season officially begins this Tuesday with our second annual Peacockies. We announced the biggest fantasy winners of the season, including these categories, live on Fantasy Football Happy Hour. And the best part is our viewers will once again be able to cast their vote via our fan ballot, which will be released this Sunday on Twitter. Matthew, let's get a warm-up in here by picking some of our favorite loser punishments from the season.
I was just going to say, I think we need some more categories, too, like Best J Insult. You know, we need some other categories for the show.
Best J 2007 NBA comparison.
Yes. Right, exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Chris Duhon. Yep.
Right, exactly.
Worst Knicks fan. That's a callback.
Went off on you with that.
Yeah. Yep. Worst movie you've spoiled. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Magnolia by your.
So, okay, here we go. We haven't seen these. Some of the best fantasy loser punishments. People living that fantasy life. Oh, man. This is from Scoot, who says, changes every year, but my favorite was loser. Had to compete in an amateur bodybuilding competition. He does not have a body made for a bodybuilding competition. That's pretty amazing.
That's a great idea.
There's a lot going on there.
Oh. Last place in my league has to go up on a billboard as a punishment. That's from at MyPete96, or MVPete96 as well. There's another one. You must run a lemonade stand in public in costume for 2 hours or until you raise $200 for charity, whichever comes first. And so there's a guy like dressed like as a weird Boy Scout or something. I don't know what's going on with that outfit.
An adult lemonade stand is terrifying.
Yeah.
You're not getting $200.
You can't do that.
All right, Conrad in Seville, loser of our dad league, all dads from our kids' class, has to be the Easter Bunny at the school Easter celebration, 12-team
That's
league.
good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
kind of terrifying but good.
Terrifying but good. Yeah, that's great.
Donnie Darko type of vibe.
Oh, we got a video from Joshua Green in my league. Last place gets a dozen eggs thrown at them.
Yeah.
Well, this is just cruel.
Why is
the
he in
person
an
in the
Easter Bunny
red
costume?
is not exactly Josh Allen the way they're throwing. Are you looking at this?
Yeah, I don't think this person's been hit once.
That's actually Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins plays in this league.
That might be.
Oh,
might be Nick Mullins. Look at him with his shield. He's got the face shield going on.
You could at least put him in goalie gear.
Yeah,
that would make the bit even better.
But he was dressed in some sort of. Was he dressed like as a chicken or something like that? Is that the idea?
That
was it
wasn't
like
clarified
throwing
in the
eggs at
comment.
a chicken?
I think
or?
it was a suit that people that paint wear, like a painter's
right.
tarp,
Is that
and
what
he
it
had the
was?
face shield
Oh,
on
maybe,
to protect his actual clothes.
I think next time they have to wear their nicest
whoever that
suits.
was in the red was throwing like this.
Yeah.
Like
it's like CJ Stroud, but way worse.
Yes.
Stroud kind of has a little.
Well, yeah, it was a little bit
quick
like
release.
Or
the.
Tim Boyle.
Yeah. Reminds me of like, they always, in college, they always do the Dr. Pepper, challenge, and there's always a controversy about whether you go this or
the double-handed
push
pass, which is faster.
Pass. It is faster.
People make fun of it, but this
It
is
always
for the
wins.
money. It always wins.
It always wins.
Yeah.
It always
But
wins.
anyway, but that guy wasn't connecting on a lot of eggs that way. If you have more loser punishments,
Please.
tweet at me, at
Wear
Matthew
'em.
Berry, TMR, use hashtag FantasyLife, hashtag FFHappyHour, please. And we'll feature more of these throughout the week and tomorrow on Sunday
They're
at Fantasy
funny.
Football pregame as well.
All right, we're taking our last break. When we're back, last call, our best bets for Week 18 to close out the regular season. Don't forget, on DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. It is time for last call. Let's take a look at the most Saturday bet player props, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. Chris Boswell field goals made. If you're wondering what the board looks like with all the players resting, that's number one, and it's under 1.5. Then 4 Texans props. Devin Singletary rushing yards, 61.5 over. Dalton Schultz receptions over 4.5. I think a lot of people are alert that he has a lot of money on the line for that one. $500,000 if he gets to 6. Nico Collins receiving yards over 70.5. Nico Collins receptions over 5.5. Jay, what do you like from this weekend?
So I like Mason Rudolph under 191.5 passing yards. What better way to celebrate the new year than Mason Rudolph under? So a couple of things. One, there's going to be a snowstorm in Baltimore tomorrow where Mason Rudolph is playing, so that's bad for him. It's going to be raining, going to be 10 to 20 mile per hour winds. Baltimore have an elite pass defense. Their run defense is merely average, and the Steelers will want to run the ball in this game. And also, I think there is a 5 to 10% chance that we talked about this yesterday. If it goes south early for Mason Rudolph, I think the guy who'd be picking up the passing yards in garbage time might be Kenny Pickett. So all those reasons I like the under on Rudolph.
So very quickly, because I want to get to a couple other incentives we missed, but I never like to ride with the public, but I do think they're on to something with Nico Collins receptions over 5.5. He's had at least 7 in each of his last 4 games with Stroud. We talked about Noah Brown in this game as well. Not for nothing, but how about Melvin Gordon anytime touchdown? Again, like they're going to be playing like it's at plus money, right? It's at plus 285 for Melvin Gordon. Why not? And then also the Commanders are only 13-point underdogs to Dallas. Dallas minus 13. It should be 21, honestly. Look, Jonathan Allen's not going to play. Kendall Fuller's not going to play. Cam Curl likely not going to play. They're phoning it in. Cowboys need this win. Yeah. They're going to kill them. They're going to minus 13 is way too low.
Yep, I like it.
All right, guys, we talked a lot about all Baker Mayfield's incentives. He has 5 different categories. I'm simply going over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's plus money right now. It's plus 114. Baker's done this his last 4 games, his last 5 of 6. I get it. People are a little fearful of the matchup in some sense. Baker's going to come out firing. He'll be fine.
So, okay, couple of quick things. Xavier Howard, by the way, officially ruled out by the Dolphins as well. That's good news for the Bills' passing attack on Sunday night. And then there's a couple of incentives, by the way. This is crazy, but Chris Jones of the Chiefs has a $1.25 million incentive for half a sack.
It's got to get that.
Yeah,
as soon as that gets picked up, boom, bet that.
He will not be defending the run on Sunday.
No.
He will be rushing the pass.
Game doesn't even matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, Denny Carter, apologies to Denny Carter. We weren't able to get this, but he just tweeted this. The dishonest mainstream media won't tell you that Taysom Hill gets a $500,000 contract bonus if he rushes for 250 yards Sunday against the Falcons. He is correct. We did not want to mention that.
We've been hiding it on purpose.
We're absolutely a dishonest mainstream media. That is us.
That's how I would describe our show.
Well, we're not mainstream.
We don't want Taysom Hill propaganda.
No. Hey, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here for Jay and Connor. I'm Matthew. We'll see you Sunday morning for Fantasy Bowl pregame. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.